Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026 City Council meeting. So at this time, I'm going to call on Councilmember Jim Vandahar, I don't know where that came from, Jim Vandahar to lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. Please rise. My name's Jim, for those of you that don't know me. Let us pray. Dear God, with a spirit of wisdom and compassion, we come together today in service to our community. Excuse me. A city of many voices, many traditions, and one shared home. We honor the faiths, beliefs, and values that shape our neighbors' lives, including those who walk with faith, as well as those who walk with principle. May our differences be a source of strength, and may our dialogue be guided by respect, patience, and understanding. Grant us the clarity to make decisions that serve the common good, the courage to act justly, and the humility to listen deeply. May we remember that leadership is a form of service and that the trust placed in us is sacred. Let peace dwell among us, justice guide us, and compassion lead us. Amen. You want me to go forward? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Next item is 5A, recognition of Deborah Kaufman for outstanding community service. So, Deborah, could you and your husband Bob come up here, as well as Susan Ridley and Jenny Shue? And just come right up here. Yeah, stand right up here. Okay. And I don't see David here. Okay. So, anyway, today's recognition. Today's recognition honors someone whose name has become synonymous with community service here in Sugar Land. And so this is Debbie Kaufman. Debbie has dedicated her time, talents, and energy to making our city a better place. Her record of service spans nearly every level of involvement, from neighborhood leadership and homeowner association committees, and to city advisory boards and regional infrastructure governance, and was a member of the second graduating class of Sugar Land 101. Under her leadership as a neighborhood representative, Lakes of Austin Park has earned Neighborhood of the Year honors 6 times and has completed numerous resident-driven improvements, including decorative street lighting, park enhancements, entrance beautification projects, and community gathering spaces. And while her civic contributions are impressive, she often says her greatest joy has been serving alongside her husband through their church ministries, mentoring young couples, and investing in future generations. Debbie and Bob recently celebrated their 55th wedding anniversary. Congratulations, that's a major milestone. A fitting reminder that a life of service begins with a commitment to others. So, Debbie, thank you so much for your extraordinary leadership, dedication, and lasting contributions to the city of Sugar Land. It's our honor to recognize you and present you with the certificate tonight. So, Deborah Kaufman has devoted more than 3 decades to serving the Sugar Land community through exceptional volunteer leadership, civic engagement, and a steadfast commitment to enhancing the quality of life for residents. Ms. Kaufman has contributed her time and expertise in numerous capacities, including service as a neighborhood representative for Lakes of Austin Park, as director of the First Colony Levee Improvement District, and having served on the City of Sugar Land's Land Use Advisory Committee. Through her leadership on the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan Task Force, service within FCCSA, including as chair of the Landscape Committee, and involvement in numerous city, county, and homeowner association activities, Ms. Kaufman has enhanced the quality of life in Sugar Land through dedicated leadership, stewardship, and community service. This certificate of recognition is presented in appreciation of Deborah Kaufman. I, Carol McCutcheon, on behalf of the members of City Council, and by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Sugar Land, do hereby recognize Ms. Deborah Kaufman for her outstanding and dedicated service to our community. So thank you so much for everything you do. Council, could you please come down for a picture? And Councilmember Jacobson, could you present the proclamation since she is a District 3 resident? And also, I see 2 Boy Scouts in the background. So anyway, they're going to run a mic back, and if you could introduce yourselves and what badge you're working on.
My name is Jackson, and I'm from Troop 1000, and I'm working on citizenship in the community.
I'm Landon. I'm Jackson's brother, and I'm working on the same badge as him.
Great. Well, thank you for being here tonight, and good luck with your badges. Next item is public comment. At this time, we'll open public comment. Citizens who wish to address the City Council regarding action or workshop items on the agenda will have 3 minutes to speak. Linda, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, Mayor, they have not.
Okay. Well, public comment is now closed then. Next, item 7 is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from consent before we vote? Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Jacobson and a second by Councilmember Single. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Next item is 8, appointments to the Economic Development Committee. So consideration of and action on the appointment of Carol McCutcheon, Mayor, and Suzanne Watley, Sugarland 4B Corporation Representative, and a Sugarland Development Corporation Director to the City Council's Economic Development Committee for a term ending May 31st, 2027, and the SLDC elected Jim Vonderhaar to serve on the EDC committee. Could I get a motion, please? Okay, we had a motion by Councilmember Single, and then we had a second by Councilmember Betcher. Let's vote at this time. The motion passes 7-0. Next, item 9. We have first consideration of and action on City of Sugarland Ordinance 2403, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending provisions in Chapter 3 related to trees and vegetation, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith. So we have Nicole Guevara, Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services. Nicole?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you very much. So tonight we are discussing Ordinance 2403, and just as a quick reminder, because we have been talking about these ordinance amendments for quite a while, back in November 4th, we had a lengthy workshop where I presented amendments regarding political signs, parking, as well as tree and vegetation trimming. At that time, the feedback that we received was that we needed to go and review certain elements of the proposed amendments to the tree and vegetation ordinance, follow up with HOAs and Centerpoint, and provide very clear tree trimming guidelines with a graphic and that sort of thing so that our residents knew exactly what would be required. We did come back for first reading for political signs and the parking ordinance on December 2nd, and that was approved. So on February 24th, Public Works presented a workshop where we explained all of the data that we received via the Luma Tracker pilot program. The data showed that we did have our street lights negatively impacted by unmanaged vegetation. And again, the feedback that we received at that time was to come forward with a proposed ordinance amendment. So since then, in March, we did meet in person with FCCSA. They are the only known HOA that does the actual trimming for our residents. In other areas, residents are required to do that trimming themselves. So the timing of any proposed rollout would be compatible with their rebidding of their arborist contract, which would occur in January. And what the feedback that we received from the HOA is that this would allow them to have kind of a uniform contract, having similar requirements for Sugar Land as well as Missouri City. We did speak with them again this month. Sorry, we're in June. We did speak with them again in May, where they again confirmed that a change would be beneficial because it would simplify their arborist contract. So on May 22nd, we also reached out to quite a few other HOAs. Sugar Creek, the feedback we received was that they appreciated the proposed extended educational period. Sugar Lakes asked questions regarding the landscape supplemental program. New Territory also appreciated the extended educational period, and they were grateful for improved lighting at night. Greatwood did not express any concerns or questions, and Covington Woods was grateful for the improved lighting at night. We found out that this is actually something that they already strongly recommend to their residents as a trimming standard. And then I spoke with the Highlands on the 26th, and they had a question regarding whether the city would also be subject to these regulations. So why are we talking about tree trimming? The easy answer is that it improves nighttime visibility, but really it improves safety, it improves maintenance access, and it's a much more effective use of the electricity bills that the city already pays to operate those streetlights. So here's a graphic from the Lumen Tracker study. We felt like this really highlighted the difference between the visibility on a street where the canopy is well maintained and a street where it's not. So this is in two opposite directions, the same street. You can see the red and the orange towards the left, and that is a dark street, and then the green towards the right. So the ordinance 2403 does include a requirement for trimming around the street lights themselves. Here we provided a graphic, so it's a 6-foot sphere around the fixture itself. We would require trimming if it interferes with or diminishes the illumination of the public street light, or it impedes the access of that street light. So another component of Ordinance 2403 is adding a requirement that trees and vegetation be trimmed when it's obstructing a license plate recognition camera or other equipment that's utilized by PD. Now, we did reach out to PD, and they confirmed that that is their practice, to be very selective on where the cameras are placed, because that was feedback that we received during the workshop. They are very specific and selective, and they make every effort to avoid any kind of initial conflict with surrounding vegetation. So another amendment is to our visibility triangle. We included a graphic in the ordinance, and that extends 35 foot from the point of intersection. We included a carve out so that you could have a lot of ground vegetation. You can see photo examples of that below. So these are examples of things that, even though they're technically within the visibility triangle, would be allowed, because the whole point of the visibility triangle is to make sure that residents can see oncoming traffic. So we worked the verbiage so that it would still allow for that sort of thing. And then the final amendment included in Ordinance 2403 is the very clear requirement that you must remove dangerous or substantially dead trees. This we were previously citing under a section of our code called unhealthy conditions, which is a little bit ambiguous, and so we wanted to be very clear about what that requirement was, and then add an affirmative defense that if the resident was able to get a letter from a certified arborist stating that the tree is not dead or is not a hazard, then that violation would essentially be dismissed. So in summary, Ordinance 2403 includes amendments to our streetlight clearances, adding a 3-foot sphere around the fixture itself and prohibiting interference with illumination or the maintenance of that streetlight. It includes license plate recognition camera visibility. It amends our visibility triangle, and it adds requirements for dangerous or substantially dead trees. So if this ordinance were to be approved on first reading, we would have second reading on June 16th. We would begin educational efforts that would run from June to December. And that would include dedicated web page. We would attend HOA meetings across the city. We would have information put out on social media via our blog posts. And we wouldn't propose to begin enforcement until 2027. Now, we are working with FCCSA. We've been, again, speaking with them quite a bit. So if the ordinance is approved on second reading, at that point, FCCSA leadership would go to their board to get approval for a targeted trimming of one area within their organization. We would actually run LumaTracker back through that area so that we could document the differences that the ordinance has on the goal, right, which is to increase illumination and safety in the area. So we would also inspect those impacted trees, and we would come back to council with that feedback, that outcome, and potentially amend the ordinance prior to enforcement beginning in 2027, depending on what sort of feedback we get from that secondary study after the trimming is completed. And with that, Public Works does recommend approval of Ordinance 2403, updating the city's vegetation and landscape maintenance regulations. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I think that pilot's going to be very important so we can get some really important feedback before any enforcement would incur. Council members, do you have any questions? Councilmember Single?
Thank you. I think we went through this also during the workshop. One question I have is, what is the enforcement steps? Are people going to get the first warning and then fine? Or would it be a fine right away? What will be the steps?
Sure. So again, we wouldn't be looking at any actual enforcement mechanisms until 2027. So at that point, if we were to move forward, as planned, and there were no amendments necessary to the ordinance, we would issue a first notice, which is a letter and a door tag, giving 30-day compliance timeframe. And keeping in mind, this is after months and months of educational efforts. So we would give an initial notice with a 30-day time frame, and then we would go back after that compliance time frame, give a final notice, go back after that compliance time frame, and then at that point, if there were still violations in existence, then we would move forward with a citation.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that will work. Just follow up.
Follow up?
Also, I would request between now and January, if you can contact all HOAs. I saw some of them on the list, but the ones which were missing, like Telfair and others, would be good if you contact all of them so that they know and they can plan in advance. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Okay, we've got a motion from Councilmember Watley and a second from Councilmember Miller. Let's vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Nicole,
Thank you
for all
very
your
much.
work on this. Next, item 10, contracts and agreements. And we have two items under consideration. The first item is an interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County for FIFA-related tourism with Allison Brooks, Assistant Director of Tourism. So that is consideration of an action on an interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County for $100,000 to support Sugarland's FIFA World Cup 2026 related tourism and economic development efforts, and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $100,000 to revenues and expenditures. Allison?
Hi, good evening. So like you said, today I'm presenting an interlocal agreement between the City of Sugar Land and Fort Bend County. I do want to recognize and thank Precinct 3 County Commissioner Andy Myers for being here and his support for our FIFA initiatives. I also have Andrea Howard, who is the Assistant Director of Tourism for Fort Bend County as well, here with us. Thank you, Andrea. So as you may recall, we're pursuing our host city supporter status. One of our initial goals was to identify partners who could share the value of our host city supporter benefits while also helping offset the cost of delivering our events and programming throughout the city. And on May 14th, Fort Bend County Commissioners approved an interlocal agreement in the amount of $100,000 to support our FIFA initiatives. As a reminder, in February, City Council approved a partnership of $250,000 with the county. So that brings their total contribution now to $350,000 with this additional $100,000. And just as a reminder, Fort Bend County recently began collecting a 2% hotel occupancy tax. And Visit Sugar Land has been working closely with the county's economic development team to identify ways to reinvest those funds back into tourism initiatives, within Sugar Land being the county's primary tourism destination. The Fort Bend County benefits for the partnership, again, these benefits are unchanged from last time we brought this forth. So the county will receive a package of benefits that allows them to participate in visitor experiences tied to the World Cup. That includes visibility at select World Cup events, premium seating opportunities at Smart Financial Center and Constellation Field, passes for VIP access at Fan Festival, and VIP access to Sugar Land's official host city watch parties. I am recommending the approval of receiving a $100,000 interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County and a corresponding budget amendment to revenues and expenditures. And I will also take any questions at this time.
Any questions for Allison? Councilmember Betcher?
Thank you, Allison. Just a clarifying question with a follow-up. Is every single contribution having to go through council for approval whenever we receive it from the outside entity?
So this one is coming to council approval because of the dollar amount. We will bring any further partnerships that we receive, we'll be bringing those to the next council meeting all at the same time.
Okay, you answered my second question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stingle?
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to thank Commissioner Myers for his contribution and partnership. Thank you very much. My question is that with this $100,000, would the amount which city previously approved, $880,000, would that be then reduced expenditure, or it will be that expenditure plus this amount all will be spent? Previously city approved $880,000 for the FIFA related events. So would that be now reduced with this $100,000?
So the $880,000 that we brought forth last time was to produce the watch parties in Sugar Land Town Square. So that was our event agreement with Reeby's essentially as the producer. We do have an overall FIFA budget for the city, which is the $1 million that we had talked about. So that $880 is part of that $1 million. So this would be going to offset the funds outside of the $880, so that it's overall the $1 million expense.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, Councilmember Betcher?
Sure. One last question to follow up. Do we have any more expected donations coming in the pipeline? Is the county the only one so far that's donated in this amount, or do we have others in the pipeline coming up next meeting?
We do. We'll be bringing those forth the next. I believe it's the next council meeting that we'll be bringing those forth. But we do have some others to present.
Great. Thank you. Can I get a motion? I have a motion by Single. Okay, second by Vonderhaar. Let's vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Commissioner Myers, for your support of FIFA, and thank you, Allison. Next item is 10B, interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County. Consideration of and action on the authorization of the execution of an interlocal agreement, ILA, with Fort Bend County for design and construction of Ganaway Lake Trails and Park. We have Jonathan Braun, Assistant City Engineer. Jonathan.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Okay, another shout out to Commissioner Myers. This is another successful testament of our partnership with Fort Bend County, right? So I want to recognize you, Commissioner Myers and staff, Nikita, for your continued collaboration and support and vision for our community. So, thank you. You are a resident of Sugar Land too. Thank you again. So how did we get here? November 2020, Fort Bend County voters approved the 2020 park bond program for $800,000 for Ganaway Lake Trail. In May of 24, Sugar Land entered into a funding agreement with TxDOT for $3.8 million in federal funds from HGAC, and we're using that right now to do the design work for the trail. Now these two are out of order, so please don't get confused. January should come first, but January 2025, we authorized the design contract for the trail, and December 2025, Fort Bend County dedicated $1.1 million to Ganaway Lake Park. And this document will put all of those funding mechanisms in place. Here's the location for those who may not remember. The trail will run along Bernie, south of Ganaway, and over through some open fields to Cullinan Park. You can see on the very top right along Bernie the location where the trailhead will be, as well as a potential park amenity area for Ganaway Lake Park. The roles and responsibilities, really the city is going to be managing the project, the consultant selection, the design and construction, and the maintenance. Fort Bend County will provide oversight. Next steps, one of the next steps not up here in general is once we do get this signed, if it's approved, we'll send it over to Fort Bend County for Commissioner Court approval. For the trail, it's currently being reviewed by TxDOT to allow us to bid the document. For the park, we'll need to refine the site plan and develop some recommendations, develop that scope and budget, and then identifying a design firm. With that, I request approval for this interlocal agreement, and I am happy to take any questions you have.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner Myers, for your tremendous partnership with the city and for the $1.1 million donation from your precinct. Councilmember Watley, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Myers, thank you again. I mean, we're just all over you tonight, so I'm going to keep going. There's a little history on this, and I did get permission to pontificate a little bit. Excuse me. So when this park didn't happen with the park bonds, Ganaway Lakes was kind of waiting for this park to happen forever. I got the emails, and I think you all remember my predecessor, Steve Porter, former council member Steve Porter. He worked on this for a long time, and the trails happened, and the park still didn't happen. So a while back, Commissioner Myers had started working on this about, a year ago, and it's when we had Joe Zimmerman was our mayor. We talked about this, and then you kept at it, we kept at it, and our new mayor, Carol McCutcheon, worked on it, and today it's happening. So I am so proud to say that it's finally happening, and Ganaway Lakes is going to get their park, and I don't know what's going to be there, but it's going to be great. And while I was talking about this earlier, I would love for staff to look into the ability to name this Porter Park after our former council member Steve Porter. He worked hard on this. This was his park. It's his backyard. So with your permission, and not just your permission, but with your blessing, I would like to have your permission and your blessing to have this named after Steve Porter. I think it would be a real symbol to him to have to honor him for his dedication to our district. So is that something I can ask staff to do?
Staff can investigate this, yes, and see if it meets the policy requirements and everything. So you can ask staff.
So thank you. Staff, can I ask you to look into that, to name this park after Steve Porter?
Yes, we will definitely look into that for you.
Thank you. So can I also make a motion to accept your money?
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Watley and a second by Councilmember Single. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, so let's vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you again, Commissioner Myers, for laying the groundwork to help get this park started. So I really appreciate your support. Next item is 11, workshop. Proposed revisions, boards, commissions, and committees. Review and discuss proposed updates to Resolution Number 2117, City Council Policy on Boards, Commissions, and Committees, City Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 3, and provide direction on potential amendments. We have Linda Mendenhall, our City Clerk.
Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council. At our last workshop, hold on, there, okay. At our last workshop, the council provided direction on the changes to the boards, commissions, and committees process. And I'm presenting those revisions today in the governing documents, specifically the City Council Rules of Procedure for the boards, commissions, and committees. My goal is to confirm that the revisions accurately reflect Council's direction and to gather any additional feedback before these items are brought forth back forth for formal action at a future meeting. We'll have a little brief overview of the Code of Ordinances as well. As you may recall, during the March 24th workshop, Council provided direction on several proposed changes to the process. Those changes including revising the recruitment timeline, to incorporate a meet and greet as well with the applicants, transitioning board and commission terms from the fiscal year to the calendar year, assigning position numbers to individual seats, and evaluating the term lengths for the various boards and commission. This evening, you will see how those changes have been incorporated in the governing documents. You will also be asked to consider appropriate term lengths for each board and commission, and I look forward to hearing your recommendations of part of tonight's discussion. Now, the term length we'll discuss later in the presentation. With respect to the City Council policy and procedures on the boards, commissions, and committees, the different areas where we made changes were in the appointment period, the terms, the recruitment, the appointment process, notification, vacancies. And since we were reviewing the policy, I took the opportunity to make a few administrative updates to improve clarity, accuracy, and consistency throughout the document. These changes are non-substantive in nature and are intended to ensure the policy remains current and reflect existing practices. That's just how I like to do things. When we're updating a policy, let's look at the whole thing, right? So you had an opportunity to read these changes in the packet. I wanted to see if anyone had any questions or if you would prefer that you give a thumbs up on each page. Does anyone have a preference?
Just thumbs up on each page. Okay.
Let's go through each page. Okay, we can do that. Okay. All right. Okay, so the first page, it's really just it's the responsibility, changing the name of the office from city secretary to city clerk. Are we okay with that change? Thumbs up, perfect. Page 2 is about the appointment period, and really what this does, it just clarifies that now we would be going from the fiscal year to calendar year. And thumbs up for that? All right. On this page, it's the terms. Now, there will be a change on this. It's depending on what you decide tonight on the length of the terms. So that's why it's highlighted in yellow. But this just talks about how we'll fill unexpired terms. When we fill those, that's not going to count against them in their term length, just like it was previously. That will change the term period. And then we changed Telfair Tract 5's name was inaccurate, so we changed that. That's why it's in there. And then the midterm appointments, the little change on here, it's having my office work with the liaison for the particular board to find out if we have a resignation during the term, if we need to fill that position. Some boards we may not, other boards we might. So we're putting that in as a process, and then if we determine that we need to fill the position, we'll go through the normal process of filling a midterm appointment. Are we okay with this? A question? Okay.
Thank you. We came across a situation where we had appointed someone for a term that had already expired, and midterm, we reappointed someone else in that seat. Do we have anybody right now where we can see that have that same situation going on, where we would reappoint someone and get rid of someone midterm, even though it's expired? Does that make sense?
Well, so if I understand it, you're saying that, let's say someone is in the middle of their last term, and instead of reappointing them to that final year because let's say they did 8 years, but they can do 9 because of a midterm appointment, are we going to remove them during that? I really believe that would be up to council, but that's something that when we come before you, we're also going to have a transition plan, and we'll need to identify people who fall within certain categories. I would say it's possible it could, only because council has approved that. But those instances will be pointed out to you, that this person has 1 more year that they can fulfill a term, because they're not termed out.
Follow up?
Does that make
What?
sense? Mm-hmm.
Yes, but the question I think I'm referring to is if someone has already expired their term, say they did their 8 years, but in the past, we've had someone who went on to a 9th year or a 10th year.
Right.
So they would be in the middle of a expired term, but they'd been appointed 1 more term just because there was no one else to fill that term. Do we have, and I think this will clear all that up in the future, but right now, do we have anybody serving in an extended term that could be at risk of being expired in midterm due to this?
Yes, I think that we do, but I would say that's more for the people who are on 1-year terms.
Okay.
And so it may not be as widespread as it could be, just very isolated to a few people.
Last question, please.
Follow up.
Okay, so I'm assuming this will clean all that up.
Yes. Yes.
That's the point of this.
Yes, and this is the point of that. Mm-hmm.
And if that person, whoever they are, once we know who they are, they will be pointed out to us, and that will be made clear so that we can finish out their term or choose not to. But then going forward, this won't happen again.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're hoping this clears up that. And what we want to do is, now there are boards that we're not taking away council's discretion. Let's just say we have a board and they're termed out, and we really want them to serve another term. We can still do that. We don't want to take away that ability from the council, but then we also don't want to set someone up, if we're going to appoint them to 2 years in the middle of their term, to release them, unless there's a reason for absenteeism or something. So this should correct everything for us. Okay, so are we okay? All right.
Councilmember Betcher has a question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Looking at the comments on this, I see the shall serve more than 4 consecutive 2-year terms, and then it talks about unexpired terms. So in a sense, would this not make the term limit almost 10 years? A day minus 10 years?
It would more than likely be 9 years. So we approved the 2-year terms now, and so depending on how many terms you give direction on, then we'll update that language to reflect council's wish for if it's going to be 4 terms for all committees, or it's going to be different for different committees.
Right.
We'll allow.
Do we want to have that conversation now, or?
Well, the term limits are later on.
Okay, I can table that for now.
Right, and see, so table that for now, but no, this is going to change depending on what direction you give us in this portion of the policy.
Okay.
Are we okay? All right. The next page is under recruitment, and this basically, it outlines how we advertise. And so I work with the community engagement department, and so I like to point out how we do our business. And so we advertise through social media, the city website, those platforms, and that we will do this communication when we post, because the application period's in September, and so we will publicize that. And so this just gives us any kind of method we choose. Maybe in the future we want to do something else, so that's why we added additional outreach materials may be utilized to encourage resident engagement and participation. And so this is for our communication. Let me see if there's, and for applications, we removed that statement about the application materials. Those are provided to the task force. Is council okay with it not being in the packet for the final approval? Okay. The next page, it's the appointment process. And this is what we wanted to do, and we talked about this at the workshop, is incorporating more staff, the board liaison input. And so what they're going to do is be a part of the process by reviewing the applications, providing feedback concerning the applications. And of course, this input is advisory in nature. It'll go before the task force, and then the final appointment authority remains solely with the city council. The next portion is about reappointments. And so when we do a reappointment, it's how I work with the staff liaison regarding the members that are up for reappointment. The staff liaison seeks input to see if they want to, and then if they do, we're going to send them a form, and then they're going to formally say that they request reappointment. This reappointment form will end up in the task force packet, and so they'll be considered along with all the other people who apply. There's one more. And then this is where we add the meet and greet. And so we determined that a meet and greet would be a good method to meet the people who've applied and to get to know a little bit more about them in a informal setting, let them know a little bit about the committees that they want to participate on. And so we'll go a little bit further because it talks a little bit more about the application process, designating positions. So you're appointing people. This is already in where it says appointing to designated positions in accordance with the qualifications identified with the applicable board and commission and committee. I was wrong, we added that. It's just basically you're appointing people in accordance to their qualifications, because some boards and commissions say they want a landscaper, they want certain people with certain skills. And so you're going to be looking at that. So do you want to give a thumbs up for that whole process?
I just have one quick question. Now,
Okay.
We have a time frame for the applications to be posted. Do we need to add the time, like the month when you're going to go out to the board members to see if they want to be reappointed? Would that be helpful or not necessary for that?
We could do that if you think that's helpful.
Yeah, so I was just curious, what month you plan to do that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Councilmember Watley?
Along the same lines, I think, as the mayor's question, it says the incumbent will be put in with the same group of other applicants to be reappointed. I have a question for the task force. I don't know if anybody on the task force, did they look at this before you? Ma'am? Linda?
It was just presented to council.
Okay, so my question is, why are we not reappointing the incumbents separately? Why are we putting them back in with applications to be reviewed as a new applicant when they've served as an incumbent and they still have time left on their term?
So it's really more of, we can change that. That's how it has been stated in the past. But what I want to do, what the real goal is here, is to make it a little more formal a process so that we have paperwork. We can, if council wants to remove that last sentence, because it's really up to your discretion if you want to appoint and reappoint.
Yeah, our policy has been, our practice, that if someone is serving and they still have not, exceeded their term limits, and they have not, violated the attendance policy, and there have not been any other issues with them, that we do, we do just go ahead and reappoint them. And some of the committee members, they don't, I don't know, it takes time to fill out the paperwork, and they almost feel it's like a little slap in the face or something to have them do that. So I would prefer that be removed. Yeah, and Councilmember Single.
Yeah, I can provide my feedback, and also I was in the task force. So definitely, if somebody is already serving, he or she is given preference over the new applicant. Only in the cases when they have been either not attending the meetings or some other issue that we did not reappoint them, even if they were not term limited. But I think the idea was that they should not take 4 term as automatic, that once I get in, I will definitely get 8 years. It should be that they need to attend the meeting and do the basic requisite. I think that was the only reason in the past what we considered for 1 or 2 members who missed meetings, more than few, then we did not reappoint them.
Thank you. I think based on this discussion, I think what we're looking at is reappointing those, like the mayor said, based on performance. And if there's an issue, then we would look at them. But I would definitely not make that recommendation. I'd leave it up to the mayor to represent the council, and maybe we should have that discussion. But to take someone off before their term is limited without a reason and to put them back in the pool does not make sense. And it kind of it would be a deterrent to have people apply, in my opinion.
So if we remove the...
Yeah, and I've got 2 other people also. Councilmember Jacobson?
Yeah, I'm on the bandwagon here with Sanjay and Suzanne. I do not think that if a person has served effectively that we need to put them through. I think it's a little bit of an insult and a, kind of a fine how do you do to make them go through the process again. I don't see any reason to do that.
Okay. Councilmember Betcher?
Yeah, so I was on the task force. I think what we're trying to explain here is we're trying to provide the best committees and boards that we can as a council, right? An appointment is not an automatic appointment for 8 years. And I think that's what we're trying to stress. We're not asking them to go through the whole application again. We're simply saying, give us a heads up you would like to continue on the committee. And yes, you will get preferred consideration. But the key takeaway is it's not automatic. We just want to take a second look, make sure that we have the best committees and boards out there.
Yeah, I think we agree with that, but I don't think they need to actually file for reappointment. I mean, they need to fill out the form they would like to be reappointed, but they don't need to go through the whole entire application process all over again, because we can still get their application, and we can talk with this, as we do, we talk with the staff liaison and find out if there are any attendance issues, if there are any issues that have gone on with the person, and if they're attending and they're contributing and there's no issues and they've got time left, we will strongly consider their reappointment.
All right. So let me kind of explain it. The form is basically saying that they want to be reappointed, and if anything's changed, like address or email, so that we can contact them. But it would be, that form would end up in the packet for consideration for reappointment. So maybe we just need to take out that language, or reappointment request shall be considered along with all other applications received, or would you prefer to say reappointments? We can just take that out. I mean...
Councilor Jacobson?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the way this should be written says that unless there's a reason to not reappoint, then the person is reappointed. We're not going to look at the pool and replace them if we, quote unquote, find somebody better.
Councilor Betcher?
I mean, that goes back to now we're looking at automatic appointments for 8 years based on that language. So,
That's not what I said.
but that's what it means, what you said.
No.
If there's no reason not to reappoint, then we reappoint if they want to.
Councilor
Maybe
Steve?
what I suggest, if we take that sentence out, because that sentence is giving the feeling that reappointment has to compete with the new appointment. If you take that sentence out, the task force is anyway always considering the reappointment first, and unless there is a strong reason, we always reappoint. So take that sentence out, I think that should fix.
We're basically looking at 2-year term limits.
Okay, so I think there's a 6-1 consensus to go ahead and take that out. And they still have to let us know they want to be reappointed, and we need to, like I said, review their attendance record, visit with the liaison to make sure that they are a contributing person, and then they don't have to go through that whole application process again as if they've never applied before.
Also, what we could do before, let's say we take that out, but maybe I could wordsmith it to something else that kind of reflects what we're talking about, so that at least it's in writing, so people are aware. Would you be amenable to that, or would you just want to strike it?
Councilmember Vonderhaar?
Yeah, I see both sides. I don't know that I fully understand it yet. So I'll try to follow up on something that Councilman Bedger said. I don't want to have an automatic renewal for 4 terms or whatever it is. So if that's what we're doing, then I would probably not be in favor of that. But I also don't want to make a committee member, task member, whatever you want to call it, person in good standing feel like they've been slighted. So I don't know what the happy medium is. If I had to make a decision today, I would say, I think you know what we want. Come back with some better language.
Do we have a consensus for that? Thumbs up? Okay, let's do that. I think that I can come up with something that meets your needs. Let's see. Okay. Notification. Are you okay with notification? Okay. Now, vacancies. There's no real change in here except for to the last paragraph, other than changing secretary to clerk. And really what it is, it's just kind of talking about the process and changing it up just a little bit. Resignations from boards and committee members or a task force, they're going to submit their resignation in writing to their staff liaison. So I'm just putting that in here. And then making the staff liaison responsible for notifying my office and city council within 5 business days of the receipt of the resignation. And then the vacancy, of course, is going to occur on that day that they submit their resignation, and then we'll determine whether or not we'll fill the position at that time. If it's going to be a midterm, or we'll wait. Any questions with that? Now, if someone, of course, sends their resignation to my office first, it's not going to be an issue. I'll notify council and I'll notify the board liaison. But more than likely, they're going to send it to the board liaison. Any? Okay. All right. Yes.
Councilmember Watley?
Mayor, thank you. Back to notification, we have had in the past where they were notified that they did not get chosen for a specific board that they were applying for, but we switched them to another board, and we notified some of these people that were well qualified that they would stay in our system because we'd like them to come on to another board that was going to be opening soon. Is that part of this notification process, that we could consider them for other boards? Because I don't want to blindside them, but I want them to know that they are considered for other boards.
Yes, we can do this as part of this notification process.
Good.
Yes.
Because we want them to know.
Yes.
Councilor Betcher?
To add to Councilwoman Watley's comment, let's make sure we don't send out the "you're not on this board" email until after council votes on it, because everything is subject to change, and because there's a lot of moving pieces, make sure nothing gets sent out.
Yes.
Please.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. Anything? Okay, so vacancies, are we okay with this page? So now at the bottom is the oath, and I just like to have it, the policy reflect how the process really happens. They have their administrative, my office administers the official oath, and then they come to council for their ceremonial oath, so that's what this change is for. Okay? So, and then on this, it's just changing secretary to clerk, and then here, just changing what the training is called. So it's just more administrative. Are we okay with those? And on this page, I don't think we have anything for this, no. And then when we go down to descriptions, we do have a few changes. They're just slight changes. One of them was, so building standards, we know that that's infrequent. We don't need to say that, because what if they start meeting regularly once a month? So we just put all members and alternates shall attend all scheduled meetings. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
We added the Music Advisory Board. Let's see. Oh, we're okay with that, right? And then on planning and zoning, we just removed the ordinance number and just it's authorized by city charter and state law. We removed the nonprofit designation from both SL4B and SLDC. Are we okay with those?
Yeah, you can remove a comma up there where you go up to where the ordinance was, the ordinance part was taken out of P&Z.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take
after
that
city
out.
charter, then you can remove the comma after city charter before and.
Okay, we'll do that. Next page, it's just changing this section and just putting board bylaws. This one will, for legacy, they also will need to approve this change of the timeline for appointments, and so that's why it's highlighted. It's only to make you aware that they do have bylaws that state that, so that would need to be changed. And then we're removing the TERS 1. Are we okay with this? Okay. And I think that's it for that page as well. And then the last page, we're removing the verbiage under committees and task force, because we actually have a policy that refers to that, so we're just putting that language in there. Are we okay with that? Okay, so that's that document.
Now, in that policy document, is that where the attendance records, the attendance requirements are?
The attendance requirements are in the ordinance.
Oh, so we skipped by
Yes.
that part, so there are no
Right.
changes to that? Because I've cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. So for the ordinance, that's going to come at our next meeting, but I'm going to give you a little review of what those changes will be. So the sections of the code of ordinance that will require updates to align with the proposed changes to the board's, commissions, and committee process. The ordinance revisions are still being finalized, so tonight we'll simply highlight the sections where those changes will occur. The complete ordinance language would be included when the item is brought forth for its first reading. But when we had the work session, of course, the terms will need to be updated, and in the terms should be the attendance. The Independent Ethics Review Board will need to be updated because it does mention term links in there. And Animal Advisory Board will be updated because we're going to put position numbers for those different positions, and that's the same for Parks, Music Advisory Board. They all have descriptors about what needs to be on their committees, and so we're going to put the position numbers for that. Music Advisory Board also mentions their term links, and so we'll be updating that document. I do have that document if we want to look at it at all, or if you just want to wait till the... So we'll wait. Now we're going to get into what we're probably all wanting to talk about. Oh, too fast. Is the term length discussion. And so hopefully, I don't know if you brought your papers with you, but you were provided a table to provide input on the board commissions and committee terms, and it also included the liaison input for what they suggest for their term links to assist you in your review and consideration. One of the things I want to point out, because you will see that many of them select the same length of term. Animal Advisory, they recommended shorter terms, and the reason for that is that this board consistently receives high volume of applications and strong community interest, and so shorter terms may help support broader participation by creating more frequent opportunities for residents to serve and contribute. The approach can also, allow for greater diversity of perspectives over time while maintaining active community engagement. But then you'll see a lot of the administrative boards have elected for longer terms, and this makes more sense because of the technical and regulatory nature of the work, and it allows for more continuity, allows members to develop expertise and help maintain institutional knowledge, which supports consistent and informed decision making. TERS, those are long-range nature boards, and so it makes sense for them to have longer terms if they should have term limits at all. So those are some of the input that we've received on these boards. The Music Advisory Board, they're still trying to build their committee and building relationships within the community. So they're still trying to develop continuity, and so they want to keep their 3-year terms. And then some of the other boards have bylaws that have the 3-term limit, and so those would, if you decided you wanted them longer, those would need to be changed by those organizations. So I'd kind of like to get a consensus of the group. What are you thinking? Did you want to go through each board, or just are you ready to give term limits?
Well, we can talk about some specific, I guess if anybody has any specific comments about this. Animal Advisory Board and Parks Board, until recently, they did not even know they had any term limits whatsoever. We have people on Parks Board who've been serving since 2014. With respect to Animal Advisory Board, I would like to see that at the 4 terms. There's quite a learning curve to that. Historical knowledge is important. And there have been, there's some applications, but we didn't get an excess of applications on Animal Advisory Board. And I think 1 or 2 terms max is just, too short. I'd like to see it more consistent with the majority of the other boards. And then with Building Standards Commission, boy, we have a really, really, really hard time getting anyone to be on Building Standards Commission. There's some specific qualifications for that, and they do meet very infrequently as a general rule. And so I know that's one thing where we consistently extend the term limit on, well, I guess, don't ignore the term limit on Building Standards Commission just because of that. Councilor Watling.
Thank you, Mayor. I very much agree with what you said. I'm looking at many of these, and they take experience, and it takes time to grow that experience, and we need that feedback, especially P&Z. Definitely 4 years on P&Z. You've got your SL4B. My question is, because you're keeping some of these term limits longer based on their experience and knowledge, are they staggered?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything will be staggered.
So that makes a huge difference. So you constantly have new people coming on, and it's changing. So if you have staggered and you have longer terms based on experience, and it looks like if we do that, we'll be more consistent with our terms, except those with bylaws. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I agree with the mayor. I mean, we need consistency, and we need experience to stay on these boards if we can keep them.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Sanjay Singhal.
I was also going to say the same, that Animal Advisory Board, I would suggest to have the same as others, which is 4 terms. And I think because if the committee or council wants to change, they can change beforehand anyway. But I think let's have a 4-year term because of the learning curve.
Okay.
4 terms, sorry, not 4-year term. 4 terms of 2 years each.
Okay, so it sounds like an Animal Advisory Board. We want to change that to a 4-term max. And of course, I said if there's any attendance issues or other issues, council has the right to remove them at any time. And is it anyone, and then Building Standards, like I said, we waive those term limits if we needed to. So I guess we can just leave it at 4 terms, and the council does have the right to extend that if needed during those extenuating circumstances. Does anybody have any other comments, questions? Okay. Councilor Betcher.
Yeah, two comments. One is I would do 4 terms for most of these, but including the unexpired term. That way they don't drag on to 9, 10 years. That's my comment on that one. And then I noticed with the legacy and SL4B, there are 3 terms per the bylaws. Anybody know the history of how they landed at that point? No?
I think, on legacy, whenever it was just created, that was what the norm was at that time. But I would just say if the council wants consistency with all of it, we can look to, Meredith may have some additional information.
Legacy, I don't know, but 4B is state law.
State law.
Well, one of the things I can say about legacy, they have in their bylaws, let's say the terms, but then they also have an emeritus position, so they have other mechanisms as well. Hopefully I spoke right on that, Kimberly.
Can we move advisory to 4 terms as well to keep it consistent? Music advisory.
Oh.
Yeah.
That way we're all consistent.
Yeah, we could do
and
4 terms on that, yeah. And we don't even have all the positions filled on that right now, so, yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. So that way we're consistent. They're all 4 terms except for legacy, which we can look in, then SL4B, which is a state law requirement. Okay, are we good on this? Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, next.
Next is next steps. And so next steps will be to come before you with the ordinance on its first read, and then of course we'll do a second read, and then we'll bring the resolution to repeal and replace Resolution 2117 for the policy and procedures.
Okay, Councilor Betcher.
Just to cover one last point, did we decide if we're inclusive or exclusive of that partial term? I know we agreed on the term limits there, but do we agree whether inclusive or exclusive?
Well, historically,
I think,
go ahead, Councilor Single, go ahead.
So what I read is if somebody tells a partial term, that's not counted in 4 terms. So if somebody get appointed for 1 year, remaining term of somebody else, then he still have 4 full year terms.
Yeah, that's the way the practice has been. I know, everybody okay with that except maybe?
Yeah, the only concern is if we appoint after someone leaves early in the term, then it ends up being almost 10 years. That's the only hesitation there. I know usually if it gets to the end of the term, we usually don't fill. We wait until the next round of appointments, and that's an easy one. But if it happens early, that's the only time it may drag on.
We can add language that says if you're appointed for a term greater than 1 year, it counts towards your term limits. If you're appointed for less, then it does not.
Sure.
Okay, that sounds good. Is everybody good with that? Okay, we're good with that. Okay, great addition. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, great.
That's it for me. Thank you so much for allowing me to review this, and I appreciate your input and your feedback, and we'll make these updates. Hopefully I'll have some language that you like on the reappointment process. I think I know how to articulate that into the policy, and we'll see you maybe next month. Certain areas need to update their bylaws in order to reflect the term change, and not the term limits, but the term time frame. And then we'll be back before you. Okay? Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. This has been a big job, Linda, so thank you for this. Okay, next item is 12 City Council and City Manager reports. First, we'll hear from Councilmember Betcher.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The past 2 weeks had a TML training. We had the wonderful Memorial Day ceremony at Sugarland Memorial Park where we welcomed the governor to Sugarland, and all of us were there. And we also had the Mayor and Council monthly dinner at Talliard's where we hosted other cities in our great city of Sugarland, and the rest of the council was there as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to a couple of things that everybody else attended, I not only attended but helped sponsor a reception for all the school principals in the county.
Thank you. Councilmember Vandahar.
Nothing to add that hasn't already been said.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Miller.
My son really enjoyed the Memorial Day, being there with that. That was a good program. The Admiral was happy, and so I do miss my Jeep though. He took it with him, and went to the ball game with Elizabeth on Saturday to host.
Right, Councilmember Single.
Thank you, Mayor. So in addition to the Memorial Day event, I attended a Jingle Tree event, which was for the Museum of Natural Science, the donation event. I also attended a teacher appreciation ceremony at Sartarshia School, where they honored around 75 teachers at the end of the school year, and also attended the Fort Bend Mayor and Council dinner, which was hosted by City of Sugar Land. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Watling.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Saturday was Brad's birthday. That's not what I'm talking about. Before his birthday, we went to the WCJC 80th year anniversary here in Sugar Land. Congratulations, WCJC. 80 years is a long time to educate this community.
Wow, 80 years. That's really great. Thank you. So I spoke at the Exchange Club's A Night to Remember following our honoring our fallen heroes here at Town Square. I met with the CEO of VIA when he was in town from New York, and we discussed the micro transit services that we partner with them on. And I presented a proclamation at the 10-year birthday party for the Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center. And then thank you, staff, for the great job you did on Memorial Day. City Manager.
No report, Mayor.
Okay, so. Okay, thank you. We're adjourned.